What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall market, how this may affect NIO, what the news data and technicals are telling us, and why NIO could actually bounce very, very soon. Now, before I break anything down about this, though, before I get into any more details about the news data and technicals, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, whether it's $1 or $100, it's up to you. You're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 10 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO is down 2.71% for the day overall. It's still holding up all right now. It's not necessarily crashing as hard as before, and it's trying to stabilize around here. Now, right off the bat, when you zoom out, you can see NIO might be forming this left shoulder ahead, and now a right shoulder might be forming right here, which means it would likely bounce if that ends up being the case and try to get back to 9.5. However, there's also the possibility that NIO might not even crash afterwards. It could try to hold in this range a little bit longer for an extended period of time, or even try to break it, depending on how it looks when the market does bounce, in my opinion. So I'm going to break down why that is, what the data is telling us first, but I need to talk about the market first. I just want to note that tomorrow is going to be a little bit unpredictable for SPY. We do have about almost 1.2 million puts expiring tomorrow. I think a little bit more than that, actually. And we do have about 650 something thousand calls expiring. Now we have a 1.76 put to call ratio with 407.5 being max pain. Tomorrow could be very, very unpredictable. I'm not too sure if they're going to try to squeeze shorts or if the market's going to end up just continuing to hold these levels. Max pain once again is at 407.5. My prediction would be we just don't really do too much. We see the market drop more, maybe bounce and just hold for the time being. But I do want to note that for April 14th of next week, we have a 3.2, very high put to call ratio. For May, there's some weeks where we have a 9.04 put to call ratio. But just for April, we're just going to talk about next week because once again, there's a lot of time left. The market might actually hold up quite nicely next week, maybe even see a miniature squeeze. And I think the market might try to bounce. Now, I want to note that going into this week, there's not a whole lot that came out. PMI is actually showing signs of market contraction, meaning we're getting closer to a recession. And for Thursday, we have Bullard speaking. We also have initial jobless claims. We want this to be high. If Bullard speaks, the market might pull back in the morning, so we might see the market once again drop early in the morning, but we might bounce at the end of the day, and they might try to close this very close to max pain, if not higher. But I want to note that for Friday, we have the unemployment data coming out, non-farm payrolls, and very important information, but the stock market is going to be closed. Please be well aware of that. The market's going to be closed. We don't know exactly what's going to happen going into Monday based off this data, but the market will not be open because of Good Friday on Friday. So tomorrow is going to be the last day of the week. Watch initial jobless claims and Bullard speaking. What's going on with NIO? NIO has, 33 million in volume, so a little bit below average. And also, we're dropping on lower volume now. The short volume is at this extreme level. Typically, when it's around this level, we tend to see it drop a bit. That's what's been happening recently. If it does go a little higher, that would be completely fine as well. But for the time being, I think NIO is starting to stabilize a bit. Now, when it comes to NIO's technicals, the price pairs ratio is relatively low. When it hits these low levels, we tend to see NIO bounce a bit, which could happen. As far as analysts go, many of them are saying NIO is going to perform equally with the market. And NIO has a tendency of being green only 51% of the times on Thursdays. So not a whole lot over there. And as far as the short interest goes, I just want to note that we did see about just 2 days ago, almost 8 million NIO shares being shorted. So lots of shorts are still manipulating NIO. NIO did reach a milestone, and that's despite all of what's going on. as it did actually reach 20 million battery swaps in total. So very, very impressive stuff. But the real question is, how is NIO's share price going to perform? We're about to get an hourly MACD crossover right here, showing some signs that NIO, excuse me, sorry guys, NIO is getting closer to bottoming right here and might try to bounce. I do believe that's very likely. Now, I want to note that for the market, I'm seeing something like this forming on SPY, also on SPX. I know people talk about this possible like head and shoulders that could be developing right about here. It is still very possible that that's what's happening, as this neckline is going to be slanted, which means we might see this thing pop a little bit more, get one more rally later on. And I believe that's going to happen next week, most likely. What I'm thinking is the market's going to maybe pull back. I don't know if we're going to bounce off where we landed today around the 405, or if we retest the 0.236 around this 404.65 level. I'm not sure which one's going to be. I mean, we'd likely fill the gap if we do drop that low. So I'm seeing we either bounce off 405 on SPY, or we come all the way down to about 403 to 404-ish, maybe tomorrow, and then we bounce. It's got to be one of those two most likely. And I'm thinking that we might get a counter trend rally again, another rally going into next week as we approach the earnings. And we might see this thing try to retest at least 411. I don't know if we're going to go that high. Maybe we stop at 411, maybe we go a little higher. But I do believe we're most likely going to see another pump next week because of the high put to call ratio, also because earnings is starting. And we do tend to see the market perform well during this time of year. Also, there's no confirmation that the trend is broken, and we are starting to see a lot of buyers stepping into the markets. This tells me that for NIO, tomorrow might not be that great. I mean, I think we're just going to trade sideways tomorrow for NIO. I don't really see a whole lot happening. We might have a very flat close, maybe a little bit in the green. I would love to see NIO try to close above $9. But going into next week, right, if this head and shoulders does play out, we have the left shoulder, we have the head, the right shoulder could be forming, or it could just try to bounce off where it currently is. The RSI is at 31 almost. Once again, it's actually below 31. We tend to see NIO bounce when the hourly RSI is around this level. You guys can see it right here, the RSI, how it affects NIO. We tend to not see the RSI drop that low. It's already at an extreme value. On top of that, I'm not really seeing a divergence. We technically are making a higher low. I think you could argue there's a divergence. Not necessarily. I don't really see it actually. But I do believe actually NIO is due for a bit of a bounce. It dropped really hard in a very short period of time, and it is very oversold. So for tomorrow, I'm thinking NIO might try to get back above 9, maybe trade very flat and sideways. But for next week, I think NIO might slowly rally back to 9.5, maybe a little higher. And then we might just hold these levels. I don't know if we're going to break them or not, but we'll just have to wait and see. But if this head and shoulders does play out, then we should be forming the right shoulder at least, getting us somewhat of a bounce first before we do see it continue to slide. I just don't know for sure. We'll just have to wait and see, like I said, if it's going to end up playing out. But I do believe NIO will likely maybe drop just a little bit, trade sideways tomorrow, not do a whole lot before this thing tries to stabilize, then bounce going into next week. That's what I'm essentially seeing. All right, so I thank each and every one of you for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.